Hello Patriots and welcome back to the Patriot Dad channel, where we can discuss current events and modern issues, all while keeping it as real as possible. Today I wanted to do a little bit of a discussion around the soon-to-be President-elect Donald Trump's picks for his incoming cabinet. I say soon-to-be only because technically, until after January 6th, when the delegates actually cast their votes, President Trump is not technically the new president-elect. Again, I say technically. His picks for his incoming cabinet this week have really created a reaction on the left that I have not seen in quite a while. But before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that during the ramp up to the 2024 election, the Rogue Dermatologist and the Patriot Dad channel are collaborating to bring you another great deal. In remembrance of the attempt on Trump's life, if you follow the link to trumpmug24.com, it'll take you straight here. Scroll down, add it to your cart, go to checkout, enter the code PDMUG, and you'll save 20%. Take advantage of this offer while it's still available. Now, back to the video. Now, here real quick, we're going to go over his picks thanks to Politico's tracker, and then we'll go a little bit deeper on each, and some of them will go over the media's hysteria around them and try to do a little bit of debunking for some of that because, guys, if you are on X at all, you have seen no shortage of nonsense surrounding many of the people, including Pete Hegseth and Matt Gaetz. But first, let's get Politico pulled up, and we can see here that he has announced 11 members for his incoming cabinet. There are 13 still yet to be selected, and none of them have been confirmed. Now, the Senate confirmation process is already the topic of debate because there are a couple of ways that can happen. Some of these candidates might go through the Senate confirmation process and come out the other end just fine. Some of them, like Matt Gaetz, that's more contested, might have a little bit more trouble. If enough trouble happens, there is room in the Constitution, if there's disagreement on recess between the House and the Senate, to where the president can put the houses in recess himself and then make appointments to his cabinet while the House and the Senate are in recess. Recess appointments are not new. They have been done before. It's just obviously not the preferred method. But when you have such hostility and division coming from the Democrats, as well as their announcements that they are going to be establishing a shadow cabinet to support democracy, I don't know what else we can really do other than be prepared. His first pick, Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, is going to be the first female Chief of Staff in the White House, so Trump continues to show that he is not the sexist that the media tries to make him out to be. He's surrounding himself with very capable, very powerful women, and it doesn't really seem to bother him. Why else would he pick a Chief of Staff who is a woman unless he has no issue with women? We have his pick for Secretary of State, Senator Marco Rubio. Now, this is going to open up his Senate seat, but that's okay. There's a process for that. Treasury Secretary has not yet been selected. His Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has been quite the controversial pick, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. Attorneys General, also very heavily contested. Lots of resistance already being discussed. Representative Matthew Gaetz. Again, this will open up his House seat, and that will have to be filled through the normal process. Interior is Doug Burgum. Haven't really heard much controversy around that pick. Speaking around not much controversy, we have one of the more controversial picks, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There has been a ton of misinformation and nonsense spread around X following that pick, stating that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is anti-vax in general, saying all kinds of things like the Lincoln Project, trying to tell us that we need to run out and get our families vaccinated now while we still can, implying that RFK Jr. is going to make it illegal somehow. One thing I did like is that immediately after that announcement, a lot of the big pharma stocks took a real sharp decrease. Why do you think that is? Why do you think big pharma companies would take such a huge hit following the announcement for HHS Secretary, somebody like RFK Jr., who is very anti-big pharma? Because big pharma is colluding along with agriculture and other parts of our economy to poison us. Every day, we have things like yellow number 5, red 40. We have things in our vaccines that don't need to be there. Most of our food in the grocery store has high fructose corn syrup in it. There are many ingredients that are allowed in our food by the FDA that are not even legal in Europe. So we definitely have a lot of work that needs to happen there. Next, we have VA, Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins. Department of Homeland Security is Governor Kristi Noem. Interesting pick. EPA Lee Zeldin out of New York. ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat, left the Democrat Party, now a Republican. And they try to say that the Republicans aren't the big tent party. I don't know. UN, Elise Stefanik, and Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe. Now, some of these picks I don't necessarily agree with, but you know what? Compared to what we have now, I will take it any day of the week. So let's go over a quick couple of bios that they've provided us here for some of these picks. So we have Secretary of State Marco Rubio, served in the Senate since 2011, may bring some traditional GOP views into Trump's foreign policy orbit. Trump and Rubio were rivals in 2016, but the Florida Republican has turned into a Trump ally. He holds hardline views on many foreign policy issues when it comes to Iran and Cuba, but has championed maintaining international alliances that Trump remains skeptic of, such as NATO. I don't know how they say that this is such an extreme pick. I don't necessarily think he'd be the best candidate, but it's what we got for right now, and we'll see if he gets confirmed. I think this pick is one of the ones more likely to be confirmed by the Senate because of the fact that he's such a traditional Republican. Go ahead on any of these picks, folks. Leave a comment down in the description if you think you have a candidate that might be a better choice, and we can discuss it there. Now we have the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Here you have a Fox News host. They also love to on X bring up the fact that, oh, Fox News host versus four-star general. Yes, but you also got to remember he is a veteran as well. Served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He might be an outsider with no Pentagon or government experience outside of his military service, but you know what? I take that as a positive. We elected Trump to get rid of the entrenched bureaucracy. So why would I think it a good thing to have candidates for these positions that have experience in government? I kind of like that we have a bunch of outsiders for these positions, but that do have experience in that realm. Though a surprise pick, Hegseth was an early backer of Trump when he ran in 2016, back when prominent Republicans were highly critical of the New York billionaire. Hegseth was considered for a position in Trump's first administration, but he was ultimately passed over. We'll go over a little bit on X, what they're saying about him, and some of his allegiances here in a few minutes. But next we have Matt Gaetz. Trump's selection of Gaetz elevates one of his most vocal and polarizing defenders, someone who has generated animosity even among his Republican colleagues, while maintaining fervently loyal to Trump. First elected to Congress in 2016 from Florida, was in the midst of a House Ethics Committee investigation into allegations of misconduct. But you know what? We're going to go over that in just a minute here, so we won't get too far into it. But you got to remember here at the end, a Justice Department probe into similar subject matter concluded with no criminal charges. Interesting how the government keeps weaponizing against people like Trump and allies of Trump, even when nothing comes of it, even when it's shown to be not true, it continues to be unearthed, almost like the Democrats are just a bunch of archaeologists digging for nonsense. Doug Burgum here is the governor of North Dakota, former software executive, considered as a potential running mate for Trump in 2024. North Dakota is the third largest oil producing state in the country, also has 4 million acres under federal oversight. So that's an interesting choice. RFK Jr. Kennedy dropped his own independent bid for president in August and endorsed Trump, who said in his victory speech after winning re-election that Kennedy is going to help make America healthy again. The Mahav movement, folks, is something that is critically important. If you look at the state of health in our country, it is terrible. We need to do something to restore quality to our food. We need to bring back common sense. No more Ozempic, guys. We don't need Ozempic. We need to eat higher quality food and we need to exercise more. That's it. Less food in, more exercise out. And it turns out, as long as we're not poisoning ourselves, our health should improve. Makes a lot of sense. Kennedy is active in the anti-vaccine movement, kind of, with a history of touting debunked claims that vaccines cause autism and other conspiracy theories. Guys, this is YouTube, so I will keep my opinions on that to myself. These are clearly stated as RFK Jr.'s opinions. Also, these clinical trials and other efforts to prove or disprove whether autism is linked to vaccines, can we trust them? I don't know. I'm not an expert in it. But I do know that when I have doctors telling me things about COVID from 2020, as well as things like our food is fine, it's very difficult to believe them on everything else. Now, when I look at the current director of Health and Human Services compared to RFK Jr., I look at two people that are very different in their state of health. I think I would rather take advice from RFK Jr. on this than on the current HHS secretary. What do you guys think? Doug Collins, a staunch Trump supporter and frequent Fox News guest, served in Congress representing a Georgia district from 2013 to 2021 and was among the 8 House Republicans who served on the defense team during Trump's first Senate impeachment trial. He's an Air Force Reserve chaplain and served in Iraq. Veteran, in charge of Veterans Affairs. Seems like a pretty decent pick. DHS, Kristi Noem. Noem is a fierce Trump supporter and one-time VP contender. Sent South Dakota National Guard troops to the southwest border at least 5 times as governor, embracing Trump's bellicose rhetoric about the region. Really, guys, Politico, I get it. You are biased, but does anybody disagree that the border is a disaster and that the refugee resettlement program that is operated by HHS is an unmitigated failure and is setting our country up for attacks, for debt, for having a servant class, and so many other negatives? How can they stand by words like a bellicose rhetoric about the border? I don't get it. If confirmed, she will have broad mandate to enact sweeping crackdown he promised on the campaign trail, including mass deportation of undocumented immigrants, the hiring of more border agents, and the construction of more detention facilities. I don't think we're necessarily going to have to build more detention facilities because I don't think the plan is to hold on to them long term. I think the point is process them and send them home. But interesting wording. Lee Zeldin for the EPA, a former representative from New York, is the most recently remembered for a surprisingly strong showing in the race for New York governor against Kathy Hochul in 2022, during which he issued a plan calling on the state to lift a ban on fracking for natural gas. He's a veteran of the U.S. Army. Zeldin served on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and House Finance Services Committee during his 7 terms in Congress, during which he was one of the 2 Jewish Republicans to serve. I don't know why that's important, but thanks, Politico. Tulsi Gabbard, former Congresswoman from Hawaii, ran for Democratic presidential nomination as recently as 2020, left the party in 2022, and joined the Republican Party here recently in October. Selection of Gabbard will likely provoke opposition in the Senate because she not only lacks experience in intelligence matters, but has opposed U.S. interventions in Ukraine and Syria, while frequently suggesting the U.S. provoked Russia into aggressive policies. Well, we do have a video about that, folks. We have constantly pushed to expand NATO. We have constantly poked the Russian bear. To what ends, I might ask? I don't necessarily agree with everything she said, but I think Tulsi Gabbard is an excellent choice for the DNI. We need people in these agencies who are not part of the current bureaucratic mess. The Director of National Intelligence oversees a lot of our intelligence agencies who have been weaponized not only against our own people, against our own politicians, but have also got us into so much trouble overseas, it's not even funny. How are those weapons of mass destruction doing, Mr. Bush? Elise Stefanik, UN, staunch defender of Israel, fierce critic of the United Nations. So good. Critic of the UN going to be our UN ambassador. I love it. Former aide to George W. Bush, gained national prominence for her fiery defense of President-elect during Trump's first impeachment trial in 2019 and for grilling university presidents over protests over Gaza last spring. Her nomination is expected to face little resistance from Republicans due to her position as chair of House Republican Conference and her extensive relationships across Congress. Another good choice. CIA John Ratcliffe, an attorney and former 4-term Republican lawmaker from Texas, served as Trump's Director of National Intelligence from 2020 to 2021, where he burnished his reputation as a close ally of the president and deep skeptic of the nation's intelligence agencies. He was narrowly confirmed by the Senate to the DNI role 4 years ago, but may have an easier time in the GOP-controlled Senate next year. I agree with most of those things that Politico laid out, but real quick, let's go over some of the things that we've seen on X as resistance to some of these picks. So we start off by a lot of the misinformation around Mr. Gaetz. We have here that the 1776 Post, the FBI opened an investigation in 2020 against Matt Gaetz after he was accused of using a site called Seeking Arrangements to traffic a 17-year-old girl. No victims came forward accusing Gaetz, and Seeking Arrangements publicly stated that the congressman never had an account with them. Seems like that should put things to rest right there. But no, the FBI investigation into Gaetz concluded with no charges filed, but it led to the indictment of a convicted felon, Stephen Alford, for attempting to defraud Gaetz's father for $25 million. Gaetz' father, Don, was working with the FBI, was told to wear a wire to uncover a purported $25 million extortion plot against his son. Now, after his nomination to Attorney General, these allegations have resurfaced. This is to defame and ruin his reputation in hopes that the nomination doesn't go through. Does that sound very honest to you folks? Because it really doesn't to me. But you'll see no end to the number of posts referencing his accusations of being with an underage girl or trafficking a girl. If there was any veracity to those, don't you think that the current Department of Justice and the FBI would have found reason to file charges, especially with the fact that they hate Gaetz? So nice try, folks. Next on the list is Pete Hegseth. Now, here, the Knights Templar themselves come out in defense because there are people all over X and elsewhere trying to say that some of the tattoos that Hegseth has are white supremacist or ultranationalist or far right or Nazi. Who knows? But here we can see directly from the Knights Templar. Leftist media get it wrong again as they brand new Trump appointee Pete Hegseth a Nazi. This is not a Nazi symbol. This is our Templar symbol of the Holy Jerusalem Cross as seen in our Priory Church of St. Mary Magdalene. If you see reference to Pete Hegseth and him being a Nazi because of his tattoos, you know that that is untrue, directly from the Knights Templar themselves. In a humorous conclusion, we can go with what Matt Couch here has stated, which is Elon Musk, RFK Jr., JD Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, Vivek Ramaswamy, etc., etc., etc. Look at this shit show below the Democrats put in power. Liberals are delusional nutters. Like the term nutters, it's kind of amusing. But you can see here, Trump is hiring an unqualified cabinet, says the lunatics who gave us this. And you can see some of the pictures of the people that Biden has in his administration right now. So folks, I will let you come to your own conclusion. I look forward to seeing the rest of President Trump's picks, and I look forward to seeing each one of these people put into their position, whether it's through the traditional Senate confirmation process or, if necessary, recess appointments. I know that's going to really twist some people up, but you know what? I don't care. There's the popular mandate to get things done. Trump won not only the Electoral College, but the popular vote as well. He got more votes than any Republican in history. He has turned many demographics more Republican than ever. Whenever people try and say, whether they are legislators or people in the current administration on X or elsewhere, all about how we don't have a mandate, we aren't supposed to get all this stuff done, they need to have their shadow government, and I will discuss that in another video, to fight the administration that's coming in. We have the mandate. We need to do things to move the needle towards conservatism. Because you know what? Progressives are very good at moving the needle to the left. Now, hopefully we can restore common sense to the process and we can bring a little more unity instead of more division. Thank you to those of you that made it to the end of this video. I greatly appreciate your support. If you're looking for ways to support the channel, please make sure you check out the links down in the description below. You can participate in the mug offer or the poster offer, both of which are brought to us by the Rogue Dermatologist. You can also use our promotion code when purchasing coffee from Coffee Brand Coffee, my favorite coffee on earth. You can come over to Discord and join the conversations going on there, or hang out with us on X and subscribe there for $1. If you have a recommendation for a different topic or a conversation you want to have on this channel, please make sure you leave a comment below and I will add it to the list and get to it as soon as I can. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves. I really look forward to this craziness. Pray for Trump. He needs to make it to January and beyond. Pray for our country. Pray for peace. And God bless you and God bless these United States of America. Go ahead and check out one of the links on the screen now to either subscribe to the channel and see the rest of the videos of the channel, or one of the carefully selected videos that you may wish to see that YouTube has used its algorithm to select for you.